Blindspot Episode 10, Evil Handmade Instrument. This is a fun mid-season finale. I'm looking forward to the show starting up again in the new year. Sorry that this review is also a full week behind. All my Monday shows last week because I was at my aunt's. I didn't record them before I left, and I was out of my element a little, so I wasn't really focused on it. So I missed all my shows, and because it was Thanksgiving, I didn't really get to see my shows like I normally do. Plus, I was at her place until like Wednesday anyway, so I was really thrown off. So that's why I didn't really get to watch it until today. But I enjoyed this episode. I was really looking forward to seeing this one. I'd forgotten that it was the mid-season finale, so because I could have watched it yesterday, and then I went online and had some other stuff that I wanted to do. So I was like, I'll just wait since there's nothing else anyway, to just review it on Monday again. Kind of keep in line a little bit because my other two shows that I watch actually did come on today. So this was one of the earlier shows. I think this is probably one of the earliest shows that is actually it's probably one of the later shows. I still have a couple, but I think like half and half now with shows that have gone off for the rest of the year. And this was a pretty fun episode. I think it was really good for Patterson because we got to see a lot of emotion out of her character, which I think was all well done, and of course very tragic, her dealing with the loss of someone she really cared about. And she had multiple scenes where she really broke down, especially when she was talking to Jane, and she was like, I don't know how I could have made it through this day without you guys. I really like that scene for her character. That was probably my favorite scene with her. But there's the scene towards the end of the episode where Mayfair comes and kind of takes her like, let's get you home. I like that scene as well because it was just her, after everything was said and done, they found the killer, they actually killed the killer, kind of in a little fluke. It was kind of a funny scene, and she like flipped off. I was like, I don't think he meant to do that, and she was like, oh well, she's gone. But he did stab her, with the needle on purpose, so she was gonna die regardless. But after everything had been done, and this kind of ties into the scene with Jane, that loss and that all that pain was still there. There was nothing that changed. It was still that emptiness, and the scene with Jane said it all, but the scene with Mayfair, I think, showed it all, and I really love that. And it was just her looking at nothing. It was like, I don't know what those x-rays were, if they had anything to do with anyone, but it was just like some charts, and there was something next to her. I don't think it was a computer. It was just something there, and it was like she was really just staring at a wall and was just lost. And I like that scene because it says a lot without actually having the character say anything, and I love that scene. So that was really good. Of course, the case itself was actually pretty cool. The case itself was pretty fun. I was actually surprised that it kind of turned out the way that it did. I thought that this was going to be, I don't know why, but I guess because they kind of led up to this sort of case through, two previous episodes, I kind of thought this would be bigger. I thought it would have something to do with Jane herself, and I guess that was me thinking, like, oh, just because they slightly mentioned it before, that had to mean it has something to do with Jane. That's kind of like the Daylight thing. Like, that had nothing to do with Jane, but, that was talked about constantly, so it was kind of stupid of me to even think that, but that's where my head was, like, oh, this is going to have a lot to do with Jane or something, but that didn't make any sense. So we find out what it actually means, and it's about 3 Russian spies who are taken in as orphans, which does somewhat tie into Jane and her past because of the memory she has of all those kids who are orphans. They're raised and told, this is your mission, basically marry someone who has intel that we can use, and that's pretty much all there is to it, kill certain targets, and that was pretty much it. It was kind of a standard mission for them, and it actually started up because of David's murder. So, that kind of, obviously kept coming up. They kept having to say, like, after David's murder or David's murderer and David dying and this and that. So it was, all over the episode about how, he was killed. And it was a really good case. And they had, kind of a normal case for them. They had to figure out how are certain people connected, what's the ties, what's the backstory, are they actually spies, is it this, is it that, and it was fun. It was pretty cool. We got some chase scenes, we got a little bit, we had like 2 really big functions. So they filmed at Queen's Museum, which I've never been to. I've been to New York, but I've never been there. that diorama thing. When I saw that, I was like, I want to go to Queen's Museum because I want to see that in real life now because that looked really cool. So they filmed there, um, and then they filmed at some really big event, a military thing, which I don't believe was staged. That easily could have been because it's television. You can just buy camo and be like, hey, actor, put this on and walk around. But it seemed like it was an actual event. It was like right outside the ship, so I think that was some actual event going on. But they filmed at like two pretty big locations, which I thought was actually pretty sweet. And then we got a nice fight scene between Jane and the killer, and yeah, it was pretty nice. They had some pretty cool shots, like from really far away off the boat, like on you can see a bunch of water and just like big open landscape, and it's just like two little people fighting. So they had some really cool shots there. And then the end of the fight where Weller comes in after Jane kind of gets overwhelmed a little bit, and he just counters the woman and sticks the needle right in her neck, and then poop, she just flips straight off the boat and she's done for. And then we get the ending of this episode where a lot of stuff kind of just breaks down all at once. It starts kind of on a high note where it's Jane going to basically just to kiss Weller. So it's like, okay, bit of a high note, nice little moment. And I knew what was coming because while I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, that she's supposed to get caught by Carter in this episode. So I knew it was gonna happen, at the end. So I'm like, all right, it's starting on a high note. Then we kind of had the scene with Mayfair going to check up on Patterson. Then we had the scene with Reed and Zapata where we still have Reed, and I don't know if he's getting serious with someone, but it seems like it's more than just a date now, because I'm assuming this is the same person he was talking about before, where it's like, oh, I have a date tonight, which it could be someone that he's been with for a long time anyway, but we really don't know anything about his life. But he was on the phone. I don't know if it's gonna become important or what, but they took the time to show him on the phone, like, oh, all right, I'll see you later, and smiling and stuff. And then it goes over to Zapata, who is signing a paper. She's gonna decide to resign because she doesn't want to spy on Jane. And I don't know. I'm assuming that information is going to get to her. Maybe it won't get to her in time because she's still at work. She could just walk in and say, like, hey, I have to resign. And I pretty much can't say why. I just have to. So I don't know how they're going to play that for the second half of the season, if she's going to resign and then they kind of figure things out piece by piece, or it's like Carter was, trying to force her to do this, and she had to kind of help in the beginning because of the money. But, I mean, if she finds out that he's dead, which I don't think anyone will at the night, that the episode ends on, I don't think anyone's going to figure that out. Start of the next episode, it's just like, poof, oh, I don't have to, quit or anything. So, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I'm assuming she's going to end up quitting before news gets back to them, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And I'm assuming she's probably going to tell, like, hey, I did this because I needed the money for this, and I made bets that I, couldn't really pay up without his help, so that's why I had to do it to begin with. Feel really bad, and, blah, blah, blah. So, I think she will end up quitting, but she'll probably get herself back on the force and everything. Everything will be fine pretty much after that. But then we have the actual ending of this episode where Carter has Jane, and they're going through, and they do something really crazy. The Orion thing, that was kind of crazy because at first it was like, oh, okay, she has this memory. He mentions Orion, which I'd completely forgotten about. I was like, what's Orion? Until she said it like a couple more times, and then I remembered, like, oh yeah, it's this. So I was like, alright, he knows about Orion. We're going to get some answers out of him. Probably not right now, but we'll probably get some answers, second half of the season. And then this other guy comes in and kills him. He shoots him up. I was like, holy crap. They killed Carter. He is no longer an antagonist. He's dead. And I'm sure they'll cover that up and everything. But we find out that Jane did this to herself. She was the one that did the tattoo. She was the one, or at least, had this specific, which specific tattoos were put on her. She was the one who chose to do the memory wipe and everything. And it's her plan to do something. So now it's like, alright, it wasn't a secret organization or anything like that. There's still someone she can't trust. From the first guy, it's still out there. We still don't really know who is it that she can't trust. Who is them that she can't trust. So we still don't know about that. We have this guy, Oscar, who I guess she was married to because she gave the ring back. I believe that was in the promo, actually. And it's like, she gave a ring back, so I'm assuming they were married. They obviously slept together at some point. But during that ring scene, I was like, oh, they were actually married and he wasn't just some random guy. They may have actually been in the episode and not the promo. But that was surprising. We got that official answer, like, who did this to her? And now the question is still why. Like, she did it to herself. And it was sort of obvious that she at least was a part of it because we did have the episode where the first guy who got killed, it was like, you don't really have to do this. And she chose to have her memory wiped. And that was after she had the tattoos and everything. So it was clear that she had a choice as to whether or not she was going to do it. But now it kind of puts her at the top where it was like, it's her plan. And there still could be another organization where she's not at the top of everything, but this was still her plan. It was her way of doing things compared to whatever else they could have done to reach whatever random goal they have, which we still don't know about. So, still a giant mystery. We still don't know if she is or is not Taylor Shaw, because that's something that was definitely in the promo. And I feel like, despite what he said, it was like, I'll tell you everything, I'm pretty sure we are going to get that answer in the next episode, which I would love to see, because I would love to know that, because they've teased us with it, with these weird DNA tests, and I'd love to know how they were faked, because that's supposed to be impossible to do. So there's still, that's a fairly minor thing, but really the answer as to whether or not she's Jane or she's Taylor Shaw is really the big deal. But this was a fun mid-season finale. I really did love the ending it had. This episode was definitely a focus on Patterson, which I think was totally fine. I think it was actually really good because this was a darker focus on her character, which I enjoyed seeing. It wasn't the best experience because it was sad. It sucked that they lost a character, but it was still good to see. Character-wise, it was definitely good to see like this sadder, darker side of what they can do with Patterson. So I enjoyed that. Very shocked by the ending with Carter actually getting killed off. That was way bigger than Jane, honestly, to me at least, saying that it was like, this is your idea and everything. The fact that they killed Carter kind of blew me away, especially after the Orion thing. I thought for sure, I was like, okay, she's gonna get out of this somehow, and then we'll get info on him. Who knows how many episodes later? And then it's like, nope, she got rescued, which honestly I thought may have been Weller somehow, but I don't know why, but I thought it may have been him or just someone. And Carter gets killed off, and it's like, all right, well, there goes the Orion thing again. And big question, and it's like, now it kind of makes me wonder, like, what, is Orion still super important? Because she was involved in that, and initially, it was just a tie to get to really who she was. But now that we know this was her plan, will Oscar actually tell her everything is still there? And if he doesn't, then it still goes back to what is Orion, because, like I said, we still don't know who she is, so it'll help get back to it. And they might do that, and instead of giving us all the answers, they might do it that way. I don't think they kill him, but at the same time they might, because someone killed that other guy, so who knows. And technically we've only seen 3 people that knew Jane before she lost her memory, and it was the guy with the beard, Oscar, and then there was the guy that was with Oscar when they were putting those supplies in that old radio tower. So, or maybe it was an oil tower, whatever it was, inside that tower. Those are the only 3 people we've seen that are even remotely related, to Jane from her past. Not counting, the whole Taylor Shaw stuff, if she really is Taylor Shaw, but just Jane Doe. We have the guy, the beard guy whose name obviously I don't remember, Oscar, and then the guy that was with Oscar who remains unnamed. So I don't know, what we should expect from the second half of the season, but I'm certainly looking forward to it. Obviously, the show's been picked up for a full season, I think. I was looking at IMDb for some stuff, and they have 23 episodes, so they're getting a full a nice big first season for the show, and that obviously says a lot. So there are a ton of people watching this. NBC clearly is enjoying their new run on this show. But I've enjoyed it. It's definitely a fun show. I'm looking forward to the second half of this season. Really like this one, of course, though. I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And now that we know this was actually all Jane's idea, I want to know what you guys think about that. I want to know what you guys think about that, what you think about Carter being killed off, which just, honestly, like I said, much bigger surprise to me than this all being Jane's idea. I was like, that's a big deal. But I really thought Carter was going to be an antagonist for quite some time, and he had, I think, 3 or 4 shots put into him just straight across the chest. So that was very surprising to me. I thought he was in it for quite a long time, and he certainly was not. So I don't really know. I mean, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this first season. Also, they may not have 23 episodes. I just realized that because on IMDb it said that Carter was in 6 episodes, which, well, I guess technically he was, but they also had like the Doctor for all 23 episodes. But I don't think he's been in every episode. But he may have been. He may have actually been in every episode, and literally just one scene, it still counts as an episode. So maybe he has. Now I have to think about that. I guess he's been in every episode, and I've never really noticed that he's been in every single one, which is kind of weird to think of now. But it's a 23 episode, so I guess he has been. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. Definitely what you guys want to see for the second half of this season, based on what we got in this mid-season finale. A lot of speculations can be brought up, so I want to know what you guys think and what you guys want to see for I guess part 2 of this season. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.